And I think we're going. All right, there we go. Now, oh, where are you? Oh, okay, I can hear you. Well, okay, I can hear you.
Well, I'm going to try to.
Let's see if we can make this work.
I'm going to try and do it on the computer.
Well, it says Brad D. Well, I know you're a lawyer, but I don't know exactly what kind of lawyer you are. But I know you're a good one.
I defend the innocent.
Well, okay. Well, that'll work. So, hey, it's simple. I chip all of you, make society cashless, put all the money on the chip, and either do exactly what we're told, or we turn off the chip and you don't eat. That's the latest conspiracy theory being floated by the world of Trump, I guess. Have you heard about this yet?
No, but I think the biggest problem is getting people to show up to get the chip.
So you actually believe in this, Chip? Well, no.
No.
Come on. Well, that's the newest conspiracy theory. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I think I've got this working right. Oh, no.
If people aren't going to wear masks, they're certainly not going to go get a chip.
Well, okay. All right. Let me see if I can get this to work right. All right. Well, all right. It just says Brad D. That'll work. That's fine. The other one I'm hearing now is oh, okay. The newest one I'm hearing is that the founders of Bikers for Trump claims that COVID-19 was planned by the left. Can I run this clip for you and let you see it?
Hang on, I'm going to try and get on my. Can you hang on just a second?
Well, sure. I'll play this. I'll play this while we're waiting.
I'm trying to get on my computer rather than this phone.
Oh, you're on the phone. Okay.
Yeah. It says, please wait. The meeting host will let you in.
Well, I've already let you in. So,
all right.
I'm going
to hang up the phone. I'm going to hang up the phone. Can you re-let me in?
Well, of course. And meanwhile, I'll just bring this over, and we'll run this, and then everybody can see that.
An estimated 250,000 people from around the country revving their engines at the 80th annual Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. Bikes as far as the eye can see. Masks? Not so much. They've been recommended but not required. As one festival goer put it, quote, "These people calculate their risks every time they get on a motorcycle." I want to welcome Chris Cox. He's joining us now. He's the founder of Bikers for Trump. Chris, thank you so much for spending some of your Saturday night with us. As far as I understand, you're from South Carolina. Why was it so important for you to be in Sturgis this week? And did you take your bike all the way there?
Yes, my bike is here along with our command center and our voter registration team. With your intro there, there are a lot of predictions that have been made. There were predictions that over 5% of the people that caught this would actually die, when actually it's less than 1%. So we have to mitigate these predictions and put them in perspective. And a lot of us believe this might be a plandemic as opposed to a pandemic. And I, for one, am one of them. But that being said, we do have several hundred masks outside my command center where we're doing voter registration. The restaurant I was just at and had a Biker for Trump rally has over 10 gallons of hand sanitizer and 5,000 masks. So we're taking the precautions that we need to take, but quite frankly, I think it's being blown out of proportion. I think this is being polarized by the left because of the simple fact that they would like mail-in ballots, and that might be the only chance they have of beating our president if they have an opportunity to maybe cheat a little bit.
Chris, let me ask you something. I appreciate the fact that you're holding voter registration events. It's important to have people have access to the ability to voice their thoughts in that way. But I want to clarify here. Did you say that you subscribe to the idea that this was a planned pandemic?
Well, it would seem so. The fact that they predicted over 5% of the population that got the virus would die, when in fact it's less than 1%.
But hold on, wait. I'm not talking about the projections. I'm asking you if you believe that this pandemic, coronavirus, COVID-19, was planned.
I believe that it's being polarized by the left for the simple fact that they want to.
I'm not asking you about the political reaction. Do you think that this is a plan by some nefarious organization to hurt Americans?
I think this is a plan by the left to sink this amazing economy that our president has built, greater than anyone else, and that these numbers are being just exaggerated across the board. When we look at, I have a friend that's a doctor in South Carolina that took one of the swabs, put it in an envelope and sent it in. It came back that he was positive. I think that people are dying from heart attacks and strokes, and on their death certificates it's saying that they died of COVID. I think that the COVID is being, if you have a cough or you sneezing or a runny nose, they're saying that you had COVID. But do they really have it? You know, isn't it convenient that this is happening on the eve of an election, and that all of these protests are around? And so where you guys aren't happy with the bikers that are coming together, this working collar, the blue collar, and this working class community, the veterans and the rest of them are coming here, but yet we don't hear any pushback when these big demonstrations from Black Lives Matter and other organizations like Antifa are marching through the streets. If we look in Portland, was there any concern, or was your network voicing their concerns about the pandemic spreading in Portland?
Actually, there absolutely was, Chris, because I was in the streets with protesters, and the first question that I asked them was, why are you here knowing that there's a pandemic happening right now? It's something that CNN has covered. I'm curious, though, because I have friends who have died from COVID-19. I'm curious, do you think that they died because of the virus, or someone, faked their death or made it up? Because that is extremely offensive.
Well, and it certainly is. And I definitely think this to be taken seriously, but I think it's being blown out of proportion. I think that right now the left sees an opportunity to polarize this situation, to try to get the American where they can mail in their ballots instead of exercising their right to vote at the precinct. And that's what we would like to see. The way that we've done it. Go ahead.
I want to understand your perspective, Chris. I do. And I'm really curious. So you're saying that Democrats planned to release this virus into the United States to beat President Trump in November?
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that they see this as an opportunity.
Okay, so what I asked you before,
this opportunity to polarize the nation, to exaggerate what's happening right now, to take some of these cases of people that have died from different ailments, that their death certificates are saying that they died of COVID, when in fact they died of a heart attack, or they died of diabetes.
Somehow every coroner in every county in the United States is conspiring together to fill out death certificates falsely. Is that what you're suggesting?
Coroners?
No, well, I think that we got to do some political math here. Isn't it?
Do you understand how a death certificate process works,
election
Chris?
Of a president who had an assault against them on every turn that he's made. I mean,
Chris, do you understand? Do you understand the process that doctors and coroners go through when someone dies to fill out a death certificate? It's a legal process, and it has to be verified by a coroner. There are coroners in every county in the United States. For what you're saying to be true, all of these coroners from across the country have to be sitting in a room conspiring to falsify death certificates.
The biggest issue
is that really what you're saying?
I'm saying that it's being reported by doctors on both sides that this is not as bad as it's being reported to be. I'm suggesting that a lot of people are dying from different things, and their death certificates are coming out to say they died of COVID. I told you I have first-hand experience of someone sending in a test swab without even touching it with the rubber glove, and it coming back that they were tested positive.
Chris,
I have friends that have been in line to get the COVID test because it took so long they left, and then because they left, it was reported that they were told they had COVID when in fact they didn't.
That's fascinating, and I wish that you would stay on the line with us after this interview to give us their contact information so that we can have them on CNN. And if not CNN, Fox News or Reuters or any other news organization, because that deserves to be exposed. I have another question for you. If all these coroners are conspiring to falsify the numbers, as you've suggested, then what about other countries? Why have almost 20 million people around the world been reported to have died from coronavirus? Are there coroners in all these other countries? Rather, forgive me, 20 million cases, some nearly 725,000 deaths. Are coroners in other countries also falsifying death certificates?
Well, let me ask you this. Are more people dying from the common flu? Are more people dying from car accidents? Are more people dying from...
Well, I think you got
dying from the common flu? Are more people dying from car accidents? Are more people dying from AIDS?
So this is a conspiracy. This is a conspiracy.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you and see you. Nice office. Wonderful. Wow. So this is a conspiracy, a global conspiracy of leftist coroners working in collusion with the Democrats to fake COVID deaths. Is that what he's saying?
But you know what? They also have to conspire with the medical examiners in the urban areas. And I don't think that's going to happen.
Oh my God. My mind is reeling because
most coroners in the country for small counties are elected.
Yeah, of course they're elected, but still, I mean, a global consortium of coroners and medical examiners are all conspiring against Trump because, well, I didn't finish the video. I'm wondering if he's going to invoke George Soros, because that seems to pop up a lot. I'm just floored by this. This is wackadoodle conspiracy theories, and the really sad thing is, I'm not saying this as laughing at them, but it's kind of a morbid gallows kind of humor. There's going to be a lot of used Harley Davidsons for sale on the market in a few weeks because there's going to be a lot of bikers that are going to catch this thing, and I don't know if their family will accept the results if they find out that their loved ones died of COVID, because they'll just say, "Oh, that was falsified. He didn't really have COVID," even if the doctor at the hospital tells them. This is amazing. They've actually succeeded in what? In pimping this conspiracy theory, and well, certainly 250,000 bikers believe it now. Wow. What do you think?
So what is it that the coroners are exactly conspiring to do? I didn't get in on that part.
He was saying that he thinks that the left, they were asking him, he said, so he kept saying, well, the left is trying to blow this out of proportion, and they're saying that they're falsifying the medical records of the people who come in and are sick, is saying, oh, they have heart attacks, but they're putting it down as COVID, or they had a car accident and they're putting it down as COVID, and that they're just making everything COVID. So in order to inflate the numbers, the death numbers, I guess that's his theory. Wow.
Then what department is the liaison between the United States or Global Coroners Organization to do this, and where have they been meeting? There's no secret conspiracy anymore on that level. The only conspiracies are in the government.
Well, conspiracy facts maybe, but I mean, this guy actually thinks that there's some kind of a. Wow, I'm just really trying to digest this. It's incredible. I'm going to play the audio, finish the audio here. My apologies. I'm going to have to subscribe to YouTube Red, I guess it is, the non-commercial, That's cheap. I'll do it, so we don't have to keep getting interrupted. Let's listen to the rest of what he said.
AIDS? Are more people dying, just from
I appreciate
being
the
too
attempt to
old?
deflect. I appreciate the attempt to deflect from the question, but I'm asking you if you think that people in other countries are also faking their numbers, and if Democrats are somehow controlling them too, Chris.
No, I don't think that the Democrats are behind it, but I think that they are trying to polarize the nation. I
Okay,
think
fair.
they're trying to use this as a stepping stone to try to get mail-in ballots, which is just absurd. We need to go to the polls and exercise our right to vote. There's too much wiggle room for cheating if we mail in our ballots.
This is amazing. Mail-in ballots are suddenly a bad thing when the military, seniors, disabled people. What's the list? There's a long list, isn't there, Brad? There's a huge list of people that mail in their ballots every year. There's entire states. I think it's Oregon or Washington. The whole state is mail in. I mean, and suddenly this is a bad thing.
Well, there was already a problem in Missouri with the mail-in ballots in one rural county.
One county or how many? All of them or just one?
No, she put them in the wrong slot. Didn't make any difference, but Medicaid expansion still succeeded.
The Medicaid expansion referendum, and it's still won anyway. Yes, I remember that. But they're saying that it's a nationwide thing where the mail-in ballots are completely bad and they're going to screw up the election.
There are no secrets anymore. The only people that can screw it up are the United States Postal Service, which I can't say that couldn't happen, but at some point in time, there's going to be there are no secrets. So it's going to come out, and everybody loves to point fingers and polarize, and you can't just polarize on one end. So you're really going to have to convince me that there is a conspiracy. Now, this is a law part, it only takes two people to conspire. All a conspiracy is an agreement between two people to do something illegal and a substantial step toward it. That's it. Okay, so, you got two people sitting outside of Gillette, Wyoming. Okay, they're guilty of a conspiracy, but on a national level, there's just no secrets anymore.
Then you're saying it would be impossible to plan one that big because the secret would get out.
Yes.
Well, that's the same theory that about the 9/11 was planned. I mean, how would you be able to have a conspiracy that large involving insurers, the military, the Pentagon? Let me play you something here. This is Paul Weyrich. This is going back to the voting. They don't want the voting. So listen to what Paul Weyrich has to say. This is interesting. Let's see if I can get it to play.
Now, many of our Christians have what I call the goo-goo syndrome. Good government. They want everybody to vote. I don't want everybody to vote. Elections are not won by a majority of people. They never have been from the beginning of our country, and they are not now. As a matter of fact, our leverage in the elections, quite candidly, goes up as the voting populace goes down.
Wow. I mean, you heard that.
Well,
Doesn't it kind of tie in?
2016, when you have the Electoral College, he was not elected by the popular vote. I got to give him that part.
Well, the electors, yeah, right, the Electoral College, because what was it?
But but it was kind of muffled in terms of why he said people weren't elected.
He's just simply saying that he's saying that the moral majority, he was the founder of the moral majority, moral majority believes that it's better for the party, the Republican Party, if less people vote. In other words, he's making a case for voter suppression.
Well, I'm here. The worst thing that happened to this country and to Protestant Christianity was the moral majority. When Jerry Falwell decided to take to the pulpit and preach politics interspersed with religion to the point where you couldn't make any difference. So it's not surprising that this guy from the moral majority gets up and comes up with another, and maybe it's conspiracy 101 in Lynchburg, Virginia. I don't know. But there's, what's his proof? I still got to say, what's his proof?
Yeah, okay. Listen to this. Mark my word, if and when these preachers get control of the Republican Party, and they're sure trying to do so, it's going to be a terrible damn problem. Frankly, these people frighten me. Politics and governing demand compromise, but these Christians believe that they're acting in the name of God, so they can't and won't compromise. I know, I've tried to deal with them. That's Barry Goldwater. That's Barry Goldwater. So, I mean, he's speaking directly to Paul Weyrich, founder of the Moral Majority, the guy who you just heard talking about good government, and how he doesn't want everybody to vote, and how voter suppression is a moral majority thing, and how it's good for the party if less people vote, if we suppress the vote. So that ties right in with the whole mail-in ballots are bad. Mail-in voting is bad because it helps people vote. I mean, Trump seems to think that there's an incredibly large voter fraud. Like he said, millions and millions. He loves to say millions and billions of illegal votes and millions of fraudulent votes being cast by mail. Except, the military, the elderly, the disabled, the people who are out of the country. There doesn't seem to be a problem, but in the entire state of either Oregon or Washington, there's several states that are mail-in only.
Well, he lied again today about signing the Veterans Choice Law when he didn't. I can't for the life of me believe that anybody can believe, anybody with a brain can believe anything that the man says.
Well, by the way, the Veterans Choice Act, that was put into place by Obama.
Yes.
And he signed it because it carried over, but now he's taking credit for having...
He's taking credit for signing the original act.
Oh, boy. I saw he walked out. I guess I should pull that up, too, where he walked out of the press conference. I should do that. Let's see. Well, I don't want to lose that biker clip. Well, no, we pretty much heard all of that. So Trump walks out of.
When the conspiracies that we've talked about would be so complex and involving pieces of paper that I don't think that there are enough I don't think there are enough intelligent people. Somebody's going to drop the ballot bag on the interstate, and then what?
A ballot bag dropped on the interstate?
Yeah.
That's almost like what the Defense Department calls a broken arrow, where a nuke gets misplaced or something.
That's why that conspiracy.
That actually happened.
Too many people are going to be arguing about who gets to carry the ballot bag, and it's never going to happen.
Well, I mean, broken arrows are a reality. They actually have happened once or twice. he's saying it's going to happen millions of times all over the country, when in the entire history of the country that's never happened, even during the Civil War. Who, by the way, a lot of people mailed in their ballots during the Civil War too.
And nothing changed. Nobody complained about it.
Well, so I mean, this just sounds like a complete. All right, let's listen to this one here. This, you'll love this. Let's see if I can get it to work. Boom.
There it is, right there. Go ahead.
Mr. President, though, this is expected to be tied up in the court, so this relief is either going to be delayed or
Oh,
blocked
I don't think so. I think this is going to go very rapidly through the courts.
But
This
are you
will go
giving
very,
people
if we get
false hope?
sued, maybe we won't get sued. If we get sued, it's somebody that doesn't want people to get money, okay? And that's not going to be a very popular thing.
Go around Congress. Are you trying to set a new precedent that the president
No,
can go around
no.
Congress and decide how
You ever
money
hear
is
the
collected
word
and spent?
obstruction? They've
Yes.
obstructed.
You're
Congress has
investigating for that.
obstructed. The Democrats have obstructed people from getting desperately needed money. Go ahead, please, right here.
President,
No,
why do you
no,
keep
you're
saying
finished.
that
Go
you
ahead,
passed
please.
veterans' choice?
Please.
You said that you passed veterans' choice. It was passed in 2014.
Okay, excuse me. Go ahead,
But
please.
it was a false statement, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much.
So this is the doctor that believes in alien demon sperm, and disease is caused because people have sex with aliens or demons while they're sleeping. Wow.
Well, maybe that's where the ballots will be.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the aliens will get the ballots.
While they're sleeping.
Oh my God. All right, so we're supposed to take that seriously now. Okay. What else you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about Leon? Do you want to talk about drag racing? Do you want to talk about the law? I mean, I don't want to be the center of attention here. I want you to be. I want this to be Brad.
Well, let's see. What was it that I've been so flustered since I saw that video of Trump walking out of the stage, and I realized how much energy that I am putting into hating what's occurring, and the possibility that his core might just pull it off.
Even after this? Even after all this?
I think he's got a bigger core of supporters than of course Biden keeps putting his foot in his mouth too.
Yeah, I don't know if he really is putting his foot in his mouth. Like the other day when he said that, he didn't exactly say it perfectly. Unlike the African American community, the Hispanic community is actually quite diverse. Well, I mean, there are plenty of black conservatives. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, I can think all the way back to the days of my youth when Larry Elder was on WAB or KABC AM talk radio, and he was, I think this is back in the Reagan administration, and he was a very, very popular conservative radio host. He was black. He had a lot of black community calling in. I mean, he was quite the champion of Ronald Reagan and conservatism and everything like that. And they haven't just disappeared or anything. So black conservatives are definitely a thing. But I think he was talking about how on the East Coast where you have Cuban Americans, they're very conservative. They're very staunch Republicans. But when you get out to the West Coast, you've got a mix of conservative Hispanic Americans and liberal Hispanic Americans. And
Why did he have to even bring in an African American statement to be? I mean, it was about Latino, the Latino vote.
I think he was trying to refer to his whatever support he had as a whole. He was trying to probably say something about how he has to temper what he's saying to the Latino community because they are not they're kind of 50-50. I mean, actually, he's right.
That message would have been equally, if not more, powerful if he would have just left out the statement about the black vote.
Oh, that's Biden for you. I mean, he does put his foot in his mouth, but when you boil it down, I mean, you're right. He could have left that out and just simply said the Hispanic community is quite diverse. I'll have to pull up the clip and we'll look at it. And I think when you think about what he said, though, I mean, he's got a point.
He does, yeah.
It's just he puts his foot in his mouth. But I'm hearing people. I'm not speaking for the black community, but I'm hearing black voices who are going, you know what? He's actually right. I mean, they are a lot more different than we are. There's a 50-50, whereas the black community, it's more like 13% versus 70.
I don't know if you're aware of it, but I think that this speaks to it to a certain degree, that on our primary, Congressman Lacy Clay, who has been in for 22 years, I think, and he succeeded his father, who was in Congress for 30 years. He was beaten handily by a lady who has been very vocal in community action and protest, and there's a unity there that is nationwide, and it is consistent.
Well, maybe he's got a point.
I think he does. It's the why did he have to bring it in? But on the other hand, newspapers, radios, all these people are always going to find something to say because that's what they're paid to do. And
It's an operation, sure.
And so you get bombarded. By the way, where did that come from? The swinging butter knife of justice. I love that. I love that.
Oh, okay, hold on. Zoom is being chatty and having pop-ups. Where did it come from? The butter knife you're seeing back there is a little butter knife that I had when I was a little boy. It was from my father's side of the family, the German side of my family. They came up, they brought all their, and so that was my little butter knife as a little 4-year-old, 5-year-old, or whatever. And one night, I think my wife was watching Dancing with the Stars, and Nancy Grace, who I think is she?
Oh, please.
I'll say what you want, but she's either, I think she's an attorney or what is she? Is she an attorney?
No, you know who was an attorney was she got Cantu Blonde. She was anyway.
How did I got to get rid of this thing here, this image, because I got to
that expression created so many different metaphors in my head. I couldn't write them down fast enough.
Well, she had a wardrobe malfunction, and a TV critic the next day said something about the other contestants narrowly being hit by Nancy Grace's swinging boob of justice. And I'm sorry, the inner 9-year-old in me kind of lost control for a minute because I had to. It took me a bit to regain my composure after reading that, and I said, "The swinging boob of justice." And I said, "Well, I have the swinging butter knife of justice." And, hey, wait a minute, that's kind of clever. Well,
I mean, just think, the guy is standing there and and he's hung and somebody swings the butter knife of justice and can't cut the rope.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking that something. I was thinking it would be funny. So maybe I'm just the inner 9-year-old. It's just the inner 9-year-old in me is just having fun with it.
I'm there with you. You want to go play in the sandbox?
Yeah. So I mean, let me bring this up. Let me. Here he is walking out of the meeting. Again, pardon me if I screw this up. I'm still learning this stupid thing. Okay, just a moment. Oh.
She's had tremendous success with hundreds of different patients, and I thought her voice was an important voice, but I know nothing about her. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
All right, so
He saw that question coming.
the Veterans Choice Act that he did not sign, and that Obama, I mean, he signed. It was a carryover. He'd taken 100% credit for it.
Do you think? Let me ask you this question: do you think that there are too many news sources?
Too many? Well, that's kind of like the court composer saying that, or the king of Austria saying that Mozart's music has too many notes. Well, which notes would you have me remove?
Well, that's the middle step to what I'm getting at. That we citizens are bombarded by so many tidbits of information that goes by the name of news, that we have an incomplete picture of the whole status of America and the world.
Well, the news business here, prior to 1980 or 1983, 4 or 5 or whatever, prior to the rise of 24-hour cable news, there was a gentleman's agreement. The Fairness Doctrine forced a gentleman's agreement between the major networks, who were the only game in town, to operate their news operations as loss leaders. Now, in other words, it didn't matter if they made a profit as long as they didn't run up enormous debts. If they could break even or just only run a small, tiny amount of debt, no problem. If it's a small amount of debt, we're going to pay for it with our entertainment programming, with our soap operas, with our game shows, with our cartoons. We're going to our nighttime primetime dramas, and their sitcoms. We're going to pay for all of that with. We're going to take some of that revenue and chip it in toward the news departments. That way, the news departments are independent and objective and accurate, and there's integrity. And we will sell the integrity of the news departments, and that's how you ended up with like Walter Cronkite is the most trusted man in America. That's how you ended up with stuff like that, because these news departments were loss leaders. Now, with the rise of 24-hour cable news, that was not feasible anymore, because 24-hour cable news channels, their only product is news. They don't have sitcoms. They don't have cartoons. They don't have soap operas. They don't have anything. They can only sell news. So now all of a sudden they have to sell the news. The news has to sell. If it's not, part of my point is that not everything that comes out of this box or on the radio is news. Agreed. It's a fact, but it has absolutely no bearing on anything. It's just a statement. But we get bombarded by these 20-second interviews from Beirut that are going on 24 hours a day, and back when Cronkite, for example, you'd get a news story, although I hate to say it because all it does is remind me of the body counts every night, that from Vietnam.
but you know, you get a 5-minute news piece as opposed to, you know, here's Bob from, you know, Saigon, and he turns around and says goodbye.
Well, my first wife's sister is married to one of the guys that actually brought the Vietnam War into the living rooms. His name's Kenley Jones. He's still alive, but he's long since retired from NBC. So Kenley Jones was an NBC news reporter. He was a correspondent. Found himself in Phnom Penh and Hue and Saigon and Hanoi. I mean, he was covering the Vietnam War. But as you said, there was some coverage on the nightly news. But for instance, during the Tet Offensive, they broke into regular programming
Mm-hmm.
to cover the Tet Offensive because it was a major attack.
That was the big one.
But once the dust had settled, we now return you to our regular programming. But again, 24-hour news channels, they can't return anyone to the regular programming because the regular programming is news at a profit. They have to chase that money.
I can't remember if they broke into news when they landed on Somalia. Remember that mess?
I don't remember if that they broke in when the Black Hawk Down raid occurred, you know, and we lost a bunch of soldiers.
Yeah.
But not when we landed in Somalia. No, I don't think they broke in. No, because that's just like, you know, as Trump would say, a shithole country, and who cares if a few military guys landed there? Suddenly, when they shot down a helicopter and started dragging the soldiers through the streets, now that's news.
Yeah.
It's all about getting asses in seats and eyeballs on the screen.
I think it's incumbent upon us to just not watch the 5:30 news.
Oh no, I think we need to watch 5:30 news. I think it's incumbent upon us not to watch 24-hour cable news.
Yeah.
It's concise.
Because I don't watch it, but it's everything that is spoken is supposed to be newsworthy, or is taken as newsworthy, and it's just not. It's a fact. It's something that happened. It doesn't, it has no impact on anything.
Well, you know where
they have to say something.
You know where the real, actual, unfiltered news is found on these 24-hour channels, do you? It's found on the bottom of the screen on the crawl that's going across the bottom. That's news.
That's right. Yeah, you get it not only in complete sentences, but you also get what happened before the news event and the consequence of the news event.
Yeah, and it's clear and concise, and it's unfiltered and unvarnished and unbiased. It's just a simple reporting of the facts. If you could narrow the screen to just that crawl, blow up the crawl, and have somebody reporting on what's on the crawl, then you might actually have something there. But that would require, again, people have been conditioned for 40 years now to think that's boring. So because it's not sensational. Did you ever see the movie Network?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that was prediction.
Mr. Beale.
Yeah, but I mean, it was the sensationalization of the news.
The greatest Ned Beatty, greatest speech, Mr. Beale. There is, and you are. God, what a great.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature, Mr.
I almost got down on my knees watching it the first time, except there wasn't enough room. There was too much popcorn grease on the floor.
Oh my God, it was great. And he was predicting that the world is a corporation.
Yeah. Well, it's
1976 he was predicting this.
I am certainly not immune from conspiracy. But what I do find, and and nobody talks about is an election is a conspiracy. And you have to look at how
Wait. An election is a conspiracy?
yes, it's an agreement to get somebody elected.
Oh, okay. All right. Not a criminal conspiracy.
Well, I don't know. You'll have to ask Putin about that.
Wow, you are more jaded than I am if you think, oh, wow.
But no, but I think people need to think about that, because it filters it goes from the bottom up, and then it comes down the ballot, and so there's got to be more attention paid to what are the agreements. I mean, last year, 18 months ago, our county executive for St. Louis went to prison for, self-dealing and all sorts of bullshit.
Where's this?
St. Louis.
Okay, you're in St. Louis? You're based in St. Louis?
Yeah, outside about 30 miles west. And I knew him. He was a lawyer. I told my wife, I said, he ain't gonna make it through a whole term.
Wow. Let me ask you about this. I'm going to pop off of here. This is what people are predicting is going to come if Donald Trump loses the election. Can you see that on the screen?
Yeah, I can.
Do you have any thoughts on that? Because that's kind of frightening. That's a little bit frightening.
I certainly, it's surprising to me that as much acrimony as Trump has brought up, that if he were a Democrat, would something like that have happened already?
Right.
Would somebody have tried to take him out if he was a Democrat doing the things that he's doing now? Do I think that a few lone wolves will do something like that? I certainly believe that it's possible. Do I think that there is a concerted effort to do that? I think that you may see them in groups on rooftops and streets, but the trigger will not get pulled in unison.
Okay, so I have a slightly different theory. I don't think it's going to be an all-out war because those things cost a lot of real money. They cost a lot of money. And to continue financing it, you have to, it takes millions and millions, billions and billions of dollars. And, so for that reason, I think that just like you, I think there's going to be a lot of random, sporadic, senseless expressions of violence committed against people that, didn't deserve it. But for instance, they did burn the Phoenix Democratic office down to the Democratic Party office. They burned it to the ground about 2 weeks ago. We may see a lot of those incidents happening.
If Trump gets beat, there is going to be a backlash, and people in various places, when Trump refuses to leave the White House, there are going to be people screaming some nonsense. That we have to go surround Washington, D.C. to protect them from removing him, because we love him.
Everybody, let's go make popcorn.
He's never lied.
I'm going to be sick to my stomach. I won't want to be eating popcorn. I'm going to be looking for some Pepto-Bismol.
I think what we might see if and when he gets defeated, I can see that there will be these little cells that will make themselves more visible, and take up the chant of Hillary, throw her in jail again.
The Hillary, but let me ask you this: do you have a definition for these? You call them cells, little tiny groups like the Atomwaffen or whatever, or the Boogaloo Boys or what? Do you have a term to describe them? I don't want to get you in trouble. I don't want to pressure. I have a term. I call them domestic terrorists. But
well, I was going to say they're absolutely no different than the cells that exist around the country of Middle Easterners. These are homegrown boys and girls. So yeah, you're exactly right. They're domestic terrorists.
well, so we're going to get to experience some of that right here, just like other people in other countries have been experiencing for decades, or even more than just decades.
And they'll be meeting at the local cafe in towns of 1,500 and 2,000 people. They'll be meeting at the cafe to have the discussion around the coffee table before they go to work or after they go to work.
Well,
that gun, I think,
they see themselves as freedom fighters.
I'd like to that gun that he had, I think, was a 50 caliber.
Yes.
I'd like to know how much he paid for that or where he got it, because there's not a lot of people are going to be able to afford that kind of stuff unless they lift it.
Well, I mean, I don't know when the photo was taken. I've been aware of that photo since early on in the Obama administration. So I know for a fact it dates at least back to 2008.
And people are gonna. Did you see the video of the two lawyers here in St. Louis that they were protesting the Minneapolis incident, and they walked through this private street of big mansions, and these husband and wife, two lawyers. He comes out with an assault rifle, and she comes out with a chrome-plated
revolver or
38. Looked like a 38 at the most.
Or a semi-automatic pistol, yeah.
But that's what you're going to see. I mean, people are going to be walking around in small groups. I mean, hell, I grew up where when I was growing up, people still carried their shotguns and rifles in their back windows and left the windows down when they went to town and nobody left. But you're going to be seeing.
Well, the problem is now is that your hardware will get stolen. I think I'm mildly lefty. I mean, here's the spectrum, here's the center, okay, and here's the right and here's the left. I'm only slightly to the left. I'm only just like a little bit mildly to the left. I've owned guns all my adult life. I've owned at least one pistol or something like that, an old hunting rifle or something since all my adult life. I don't have a problem with them. I have a problem with nut jobs owning them, but if you're proven to be a responsible person, I don't see any problem with it. I made my peace with the Second Amendment long ago.
And these 30-second sound bites that are called news are just almost as effective as a bullet. because they come out there, they hit, and they spread, and now it becomes truth.
Well, that's it's at a profit. Look, again, we're talking about what we've been conditioned to accept, or what we've been conditioned to find worthwhile. The average news consumer of 4 decades ago is a lot different than the average news consumer of today. But if we want fully unbiased, objective, accurate, impartial news, it cannot chase profit. It cannot chase profit. The moment you tie profit into the news, it has to become sensational. Because if it's not sensational, they're not going to get the ratings, which means they're not going to get the money. So the problem is the profits motive.
Should the news, let's say there's a foreign correspondent, should the news take a political position?
The analysis absolutely should. The analysis, but it should be clearly labeled that we're leaving the realm of news. The news portion of this program is now ending. We're going to get into analysis and editorial opinion, and we're going to take this apart, and we're going to have some bias here or there. We're going to try to show different sides of the coin, but we're going to be doing analysis. But as far as the reporting should be objective and impartial. And I'm going to give credit to not the Fox News channel, but the local Fox affiliates. Some of them are slanted, but for the most part, like if you're in LA is a liberal part of the country, yes?
Yes.
Okay, if you tune into KTTV, Channel 11, the local Los Angeles Fox affiliate, the local reporters and the local anchors are not really, they're not marching in lockstep. They're not goose-stepping around and, they're obviously their parent company is a big supporter of Trump, but they're not working for Trump. It's KTTV, Channel 11, and for the most part, the reporting is kind of even-handed. Not completely, but reasonably. I mean, it's a conservative channel, but they're not carrying the water like Fox News Channel.
I can't remember what you said. You used a word, and it was a great choice of words. But what is lacking in the news that people are inundated with lacks context.
Well, this lacks context because the only thing that's important is the sensationalizing and the profit. Again, if we had we do have publicly funded news. We have the PBS NewsHour. That's supported by tax dollars and donations. It's not supported by a profit at all. And the viewership is minuscule. Do you know why? It's not sensationalized, so people find it boring.
Yeah.
We can watch BBC NewsHour any time of day. People think it's boring. It's sensationalized.
There's no. Well, first of all, it's not visual. Okay.
Well, it's visual, but it's not sensationalized.
It's well, I'm thinking NPR is what I'm thinking of.
No, PBS.
But it's not visual. You don't have somebody standing in front of a mushroom cloud as the blowback comes back by. But what you do have is you have an analysis as much as can be gotten from the sources, both good and bad. I mean, there are times I don't agree with NPR and PBS, but they cover the subject, I believe, in an if there's something that they would rather not say, they'll go ahead and say it. But you get a context of what it is that they are delivering the story that they're delivering, if it has a historical context or a recency context, you get how the story evolved, what brought it here. Most of the time on the 5:30 news, you get, this is John Jones, I'm standing in a building that just fell down, and that's all I can tell you, more later.
Well, again, I mean, you're not the average news consumer. Sorry. The average American, we've been conditioned now for at least since 1996 anyway. When did Fox News Channel start? 92, 94, 96 or something? We have been conditioned. Roger Ailes said, today Americans get their information from television news more than any other source, more than books, newspapers, radio, or any other kind of journalism combined. And, you know, with television news, you just sit, watch, listen. The thinking is done for you. That's Roger Ailes said that. The thinking is done for you.
Yeah.
We've been conditioned not to think and to just accept what we're hearing and not think about it.
And so then when you go down to the cafe to meet your buddies in the morning, and you hear, say, did you hear what I heard on the news last night? Well, yeah, I did, and that's something. Well, that's the gospel truth.
Oh, shit. Yeah, but Joe Sixpack, who graduated from the University of Hard Knocks and the College of Hard Knocks, I mean, suddenly he's an expert on nuclear weapons, and he's an expert.
Well, there's
an expert on health. He's an expert on everything.
There's a fair share of academic eggheads too, you know.
At least they're I'm hoping maybe the eggheads are fact checking something. But I mean, that's getting it all. But yeah, we've been conditioned to accept sensationalized news as the news now. Real news is boring sometimes, even if it's coverage of an explosion. Once you've gotten past the video clip of the explosion, the grocery list of the number of dead and wounded, unless you can whip it up into a frenzy, people will just turn it off and go to the next thing. What's Kim Kardashian doing right now?
Or wearing, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that suddenly after that was an amazingly scary explosion.
I mean, you know,
now on to what's Antifa doing or something.
I mean, did anybody ever, you know, watching what happened, does the viewer ever go, what the hell are 2,700 tons of ammonium nitrate doing in one of the most, used to be one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and now, and you know what? And the thing of it is, I mean, they were bad enough shape of what they're rioting against the government for. That was a pretty big instigator.
That was an official who probably was told to do something, and then he ran into a bunch of red tape. I can't imagine that civil services in a city like that work real good. Maybe you might get your trash picked up. Maybe the electricity's on for 6 hours a day. I don't know. I don't know if Beirut's got, you know, reasonable city services, but I would say that removing 3,000 tons of ammonium nitrate is probably pretty far down on the priorities list, even though it should be at number one.
Probably trying to figure out how to do it and gave up.
Who's going to pay for moving it? We've confiscated it. It's sitting in this warehouse. Now we have to move it. Well, I'm not moving it. That costs too much. You have to pay me to move it. Well,
that shit'll kill you.
Oh, that shit'll kill you. Yeah, but I'm not going to work for free to move all this stuff out of the warehouse. You have to pay me. Well, where are we going to come up with the money? Oh, the city's broke. We don't have the money to move it. And so it sits. The city doesn't have the money to move it, so it sits.
So So these people, like the guy with the sniper rifle, and the guy who was talking about the conspiracy of coroners, which I find is fascinating. I'm going to write about that one tonight. And I mean, my God, I think that we've got a novel in the making already.
You mean like a Tom Clancy novel, like with Jack Ryan?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be something.
So what do you do now? What's his name with the horses and the grazing? Bundy. They had a standoff in Montana or somewhere, and Cliven Bundy, and then one of his kids got killed, and he won. Except now they're coming after him for taxes, but these people who unquestionably have a little air out of the balloon. How do you approach them?
I don't know. I know how Jesus would approach them. Here, listen. Hold on.
Hello, Cliven. It is I, your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. We need to talk. I heard that you said that I told you that you should disarm the people at the National Park Service and chase the people at the BLM around with guns. Now, first of all, Cliven, I like the Park Service, and I never tell people to chase other people around with guns. That's not how I roll. Cliven, have you ever read Romans 13? It says in part, let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for the authorities that exist have been established by God. Consequently, whoever rebels against them is rebelling against God. It also says that this is why you pay your taxes, for the authorities are God's servants who give their full time to governing. If you owe taxes, pay taxes. If you owe fees, pay your fees. So, when you're grazing without fees or a permit, you're not merely breaking the laws, Cliven, you're also sinning against my Heavenly Father and I. Now, of course you can be forgiven for these sins, Cliven, and I'm a very compassionate and forgiving Lord. I simply want to point out to you that these are some of the very sins for which I was fucking crucified! And it angers me when you tell people that I told you to commit the sins and then you go on committing the sins. Now, Cliven, I want you to meet someone. This is my friend Deathy. Deathy, say hello to Cliven. Yeah, Deathy doesn't say very much. Deathy is a man of action. He works in my payroll department. He's responsible for paying the wages of sin. Now, you know what the wages of sin are, don't you, Cliven? I thought so. See, I want you to make a couple of acts of atonement here. First of all, I want you to apologize to the Park Service and the BLM, and then to Fox News and Sean Hannity for making them look like such opportunistic scumbags. Well, actually, scratch that last part. Now, Cliven, to demonstrate that I am who I am, I'll turn myself into a dove and fly away. But don't worry, folks. Cliven's actually seeing that. He's a little, Oh, and by the way, now that I've got you all here, what is up with the crosses? I mean, you do know I was crucified, right? You think I want to come back and see a bunch of crosses? I mean, if you died in the electric chair, would you want to see people running around with little electric chairs hanging from their necks in gold? I don't think so. You know what I want to see, folks? I want to see hearts. Right in the middle of the forehead. Tattooed in the middle of the forehead. Right there. Love and compassion. That's what I'm about. And when I come back, I want to see all of my servants lined up 6 miles deep in lines, just for the off chance that they might be able to wash the feet of a homosexual or an illegal immigrant. That's what I want to see. And by the way, if I don't see that, I want you to meet my friend Deathy. Deathy's responsible for paying the wages of sin. We'll see you at Bundy Fest.
So,
Who was that?
okay, that was a guy. Could you see it too, I hope?
No,
You couldn't see it.
I'm just seeing you.
Oh my freaking God. I've got to figure out how to make this thing work properly. Well, that was that was Jesus Talks to Cliven Bundy by comedian raconteur Sean Shealy.
Oh, okay.
He is the guy that came up with the idea for Bundy Fest. Bundy Fest, since these lands are free, as Bundy says, the lands are free to do what you want. You don't have to pay any fees. He was saying, let's have a Woodstock festival with, 500,000 or 1 million people right across the street from Cliven Bundy's ranch.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Well, it actually went global, and the CNN and MSNBC started calling him.
They might run into the people that are at the Burning Man.
Well, the thing was, it was just a joke, but they took it seriously, and they were calling him up and saying, "Are you really going to be doing this Bundy Fest thing for real?" He goes, "Yeah, we're going to have 200 bands and everything," and then, "Oh, it's just a joke." But he did get a moment of fame there, because for about 5 minutes, the world's media, the news organizations around the world thought there really was going to be a Bundy Fest across from the Bundy Ranch. So
I've got to get going. I've got to go home and do a little training with my search and rescue dogs.
Before you go, I would like for you to stand up and model that shirt, because that is a Leon. Yeah, no, please say something. So
That's my shirt, and it was just coincidental that I put it on today. So next time, as a matter of fact, driving out here, trying to hurry to get here for this, I was listening to Delaney from Bonnie.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, I think that you and I should start a Delaney and Bonnie in the Hall of Fame.
I think that would be great. All right. Well, it's been great having you, Brad, and I really enjoyed talking to you. I love the shirt. By the way,
I love talking to you. How's your lovely wife?
Lovely wife's doing great. She's got another minor procedure, but she's pretty much recovered. Just waiting for this final little bit of housekeeping. But yeah, she's doing great. The Homewood Sessions, by the way, on his shirt, the Homewood Sessions is a kind of quasi-official bootleg DVD, which is KCET Channel 28 no longer is enforcing any kind of infringement on it. So you can get it.
It's all over the place.
You can get it. Well, there's a whole story behind that we'll talk about another time. But yeah, you can get it on eBay or on Craigslist or on just about anywhere. The Homewood Sessions, Leon Russell, 1970. It's a 1 hour or 1.5. I've got a copy of it. It's wonderful.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, and it's on YouTube too. So yeah, the Homewood Sessions.
Where she makes the pie while it's going on.
Emily making the pie. Emily, oh my God, sweet Emily. All right, Brad, it's great having you on the Swinging Butter Knife of Justice. I really do appreciate you taking the time. That's not what I wanted. I wanted that.
There we are. I'm going to use that, but I will also say, like my friend says, it's the Swinging Butter Knife of Justice.
Yeah, the Swinging Butter Knife of Justice. It's been great having you on there. I do appreciate it. And I cordially invite anyone and everyone who wants to be part of this to, there we go. Now we can actually see it. If anybody wants to be part of this, to hit me up and we'll do one of these. Brad, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Take care of yourself. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Bye-bye.
Bye now.